Okay, today I am going to do a demo on what I call hoopless embroidery, and this is what it's going to look like. I'm doing it on Made in America on the Eagle block. So I have the Eagle block up on the screen. I've already embroidered number 1. I'm getting ready to embroider number 2, so I'm going to open up the design and it drops on the screen. I'm going to touch the needle in the lower right corner. If you, whatever machine you're on, you're going to touch whatever it is you need to do to go to first stitch of the design. Now I can see I'm at first stitch of the design on color number 1. You'll also notice that my needle has moved to the upper, I would say upper left area of the hoop. Now, for hoopless embroidery, I don't have a grid, so I need to line up my design. So this is how I do it. I spray sticky back. I spray 505 adhesive spray onto a piece of heavyweight tearaway. Now I'm going to, now that my needle's in position 1, I'm going to slide this fabric in. And I'm going to position the fabric so it's at stitch number 1. And if you look at the directions, the first stitch needs to line up right here. That is where stitch number 1 is. It's at the very top of this blue motif that's in there. So I'm going to put my needle, wow, I laid that just about perfect. Okay, so I'm laying my needle right where stitch number 1 is supposed to go. Now this is my goal at this point. I want to make sure that the line that we drew on the fabric is perfectly square, or is as square as I can make it on my hoop. I think that looks pretty square, so I'm just going to slightly rub it down so that it is holding itself because of the adhesive spray. I'm going to lift my needle up. Now, before I really lock this down permanently, I want to see if I'm even straight. So I'm going to go to my broken thread option. On other machines, this would be called the advance tool. You're going to advance through the design, not move the design, advance through it. I'm going to use my top knob on the Bernina, the zigzag knob, which is the top one, and I'm going to turn it to the right, and I'm going to walk through my design, and I'm going to drop my needle and see, am I on the edge of the design, which is where I need to be. Well, so far so good. Now I'm going to walk it down to the corner. Now if you look at the screen right here, you're going to see, you can see it actually goes straight and makes like a 90-degree turn right here and goes across the head of the eagle down there. But I want to nail this 90-degree turn. So I'm going to use the top knob and I'm going to go right down to the absolute corner, which is 1 more stitch. So you can see I'm right there and I'm going to drop my needle. That needs to be right in position. And if I look at this really closely right here, I am actually too far down. So my first stitch needed to have been moved down just a little bit. So I can either reposition it right here, which is actually just what I'm going to do, because this is the most important point, not where I started, but if I have to make a 90-degree turn, anytime you have to make a specific angle, like a 90-degree turn or hit a certain swirl in it, go for those and line those up first. So I'm going to actually move my fabric that I thought was perfect. I'm going to move it down and I'm going to reposition it so that that needle is dead on that 90-degree pivot. And it is now. Now that's perfect. Now I'm going to reline it up to see. I'm going to try and get it as straight as I can. I still think that's about it right there. I'm going to lift up my needle, and I'm in broken thread still. So now I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to go backwards and watch this go. Drop my needle. I'm going to go all the way back to the front and drop my needle. So I'm off a little bit. If you look at this, thank you, you can see this is perfect down here, but this is a teeny bit over too far. So I'm going to lift up the needle. I'm going to put my finger here and really hold this with pressure. And I'm going to gently lift this up and slightly move this fabric over so that it is still straight. That's it right there. Now I'm going to recheck it. Now that I have it down, I'm going to slightly rub that down. I'm still in broken thread now. I'm going to go forward again. And I'm going to walk down to the corner. And I'm going to see if I still made my corner. Slightly. I'm just slightly moved. It just is almost a nothing. That looks pretty good right there. And then I can walk the rest of it and just see how that looks. This is going up and down. You know, I'm just not getting it as perfect as I want to. I was hoping that that would have been it. So I'm going to actually have to do this in pinpoint to be really accurate. But let's just say you were this close. This is very, very close. Let's just say I wanted to to finish it up and not move it again. I'm going to leave it right where it is. And this is how you would do it. Release the screen and get out of broken thread. Now you're going to add your basting box, your built-in basting box. And I will line it up after I do my basting box. So I'm going to touch basting box. Right there. And I'm going to go ahead and baste this design down. So I'm going to put my speed up. I'm going to go ahead and sew this out. I just turned my machine on, so I had to tell it, yes, it's set for embroidery. There we go. We're going to let it do its basting box. It's going to go all the way around the design. Let's see. Oh, I might be out of thread. Let's just see here. Okay, I'm just going to clear the screen because it must. I might have dust on the lens, which says, "Hey, you have a bobbin problem." I know I don't really have a bobbin problem, so I'm just going to keep going for a minute here. Clear the screen and keep sewing because I just know that it got a full bobbin. I'm just going to almost be there. Let it finish sewing right to the end. Yep, clear the screen and do my last one. Okay, there's the last stitch. Now I'm going to line it up. So that's how I'm going to hold it down. Now what I want you to see here is, first of all, my basting box is still on. I'm going to turn it off. So I'm going to click it to turn it off. When I do that, notice it is still on because on a Bernina there are two. One goes around the design, one goes around the whole hoop. I'm going to turn them both off. Now it's grayed out so I don't have one on. And yet my fabric is all sewn down. So my fabric is sewn down and it's in place. Now I'm just going to perfect my alignment, so make sure it lines up perfectly, and then I can move on to color number 2. So this is how you do hoopless embroidery.